from Game 7 or from championship number 6. Jordan, open, Chicago with the lead! That may have been the last shot Michael Jordan will ever take in the NBA.
And with that shot, the basketball world was changed forever. Just a short time later, Michael Jordan announced his second retirement, officially ending his time with the Chicago Bulls and leaving the NBA in a state of mourning and introspection. But Michael Jordan's second retirement would not be his last as a player, and his short stint with the Washington Wizards would lead him to true ownership and billionaire status. Let's go back.
I am here to announce my retirement from the game of basketball.
I thought Jesus never will retire.
He made me want to be an NBA basketball player.
Undoubtedly the greatest player in the game.
The best player to ever play in this game.
Not being able to see him play again, it's going to be a little sad.
He's doing what he wants to do. If that's what he wants to do.
The best of all time was retired, again. But life after basketball was busy for one of the most famous people of all time. Here's the thing. Over his 13 years as a Chicago Bull, MJ sold out 610 consecutive games. When the Bulls would play away games, those teams would have a special routine of hiring additional staff and preparing for a more tumultuous crowd. But Michael Jordan's stardom stretched beyond the North American scene. In fact, he is largely responsible for the growth of the game, going from primarily American to totally global. With MJ gone, the NBA was in desperate need of adjustments. But so was number 23. MJ would start off his second retirement by tackling two new offices, the box office and the front office. See, before The Last Dance, there was Michael Jordan to the max, airing in over 50 IMAX locations around the world.
The Eastern Conference Finals welcome once again to Bulls basketball.
And just a few months after the theaters, about a year after his retirement, MJ was back in the basketball scene. On January 19th, 2000, the Washington Wizards brought on the best player of all time as a part owner and as the president of operations. Michael Jordan's decision to join the Wizards was unexpected given the team's historical lack of success, but it provided him with a significant front office role and a 10% ownership stake, which was unprecedented for a former NBA player at the time. His presence was seen as a valuable asset to the franchise, which had been struggling to sell tickets and perform on the court. Even in retirement, Jordan remained a highly influential figure, probably the most influential in the basketball world, securing lucrative endorsement deals for the Wizards, like the $2 million annual deal with WorldCom. His visibility in Washington, both in the arena and through advertisements, greatly impacted the local community and the team's fan base. But from a team perspective, Jordan was immediately met with several challenges. The team was still struggling on the court, and winning would bring the fan interest that the team was after. The Wizards had missed the playoffs for several consecutive seasons, and fan engagement was on the decline. Recognizing the urgent need for change, Jordan made bold and strategic decisions. One of his first significant moves was trading for guard Richard Hamilton, a young and promising player who would later become an NBA champion with the Detroit Pistons. MJ and the Wizards also made headlines by drafting high school phenom Kwame Brown with the first overall pick in the 2001 NBA draft. While Brown's career did not pan out as expected,
Kwame Brown is a bona fide scrub.
These decisions underscored Jordan's willingness to take risks in pursuit of rebuilding the team. But of course, it wasn't enough. The team was still bad, and they weren't making the financial strides they had hoped for. But soon, things would take a major turn in DC. It seemed to have started in the training room, MJ showing up each morning with his coffee to trash talk Wizards players and assistant coaches. Jordan remained competitive and clearly more comfortable around the team than behind the scenes. There was almost an itch to be scratched. Then there were the private open runs, when MJ reportedly played pickup games with 20 or so pros, including Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce, and a young Jamal Crawford. And before you knew it, the announcement was here. He was back again.
Do you ever have second thoughts? Do you ever say, like today, I just feel like I should be playing?
No, I don't regret my decision at all. I think it's the appropriate one. Or else no one else will have an opportunity to win if I keep playing.
That guard for the University of North Carolina, number 23, Michael Jordan.
In September 2001, shortly after the 9/11 attacks, Jordan announced his return to professional basketball. He relinquished his ownership stake and attended Wizards Media Day as a 38-year-old player. Doug Collins, Jordan's former coach with the Chicago Bulls, was hired as the Wizards' head coach. The team, featuring a mix of young talent and veterans, held training camp in Jordan's hometown at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. For many players, practicing with Jordan was surreal. His competitiveness and work ethic were on full display as he dominated practices and games alike. Traveling with Jordan brought a superstar atmosphere to the Wizards. Fans clamored for autographs and handshakes, treating him like the legendary figure that he was. Jordan's impact on the court was immediate. In preseason games, he showcased his scoring ability, and by the regular season, he had multiple 30-plus point performances, including a 51-point game against Charlotte. Despite nearing 40 years old, Jordan continued to defy expectations, putting up impressive numbers and leading the Wizards in scoring. However, a knee injury requiring surgery cut his season short. In 60 games, he averaged 22.9 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 5.2 assists, making the Eastern Conference All-Star team. But despite his efforts, the Wizards still missed the playoffs. In his second season with the Wizards, Jordan continued to perform at a high level, even becoming the first 40-year-old player to score 40 points in a game. He played all 82 games that year, averaging 20 points and 6 rebounds, but the Wizards again failed to make the playoffs. Jordan's comeback culminated in a symbolic moment when Vince Carter gave up his starting spot in the 2003 All-Star Game. Despite the challenges, Jordan relished competing against the new generation of NBA stars, maintaining his fierce competitive spirit. And although his tenure with the Wizards didn't bring the success of his Bulls years, it highlighted his enduring passion and skill for the game, even at an advanced age. Jordan's impact on and off the court remains a testament to his legendary career. But MJ's return as a Wizard did more than add to his season total. It changed the direction of his brand.
Yo! This is Mars Blackman, and this is my main man, Michael Jordan.
Now, today, the Jordan brand has achieved significant success, becoming the second largest footwear company globally with an impressive $6.6 billion a year in revenue. However, 24 years ago, the brand faced different circumstances. See, after Michael Jordan's departure from the Chicago Bulls, the relatively young Nike subsidiary struggled to maintain its momentum. The strategy while MJ was at the top of the league was to use Bugs Bunny, Spike Lee, and to have the best player in the world wear the latest Jordan model for 82 games and into the playoffs, sometimes debuting the next year's shoe in the postseason. And that strategy worked well. But when Jordan retired from the Bulls and was no longer playing, the central part of the marketing strategy was missing. To sustain the brand, a new generation of endorsers stepped in to take on Jordan's role. While these efforts kept the brand visible on the court, they weren't enough to revive its financial performance, and just when it seemed that the brand might be fading, MJ of course made his return. When Michael Jordan prepared for his final season with the Chicago Bulls, the team itself lacked a succession plan for their star player. However, Nike had a strategy in place.
Hello, MJ, we got a big idea.
In anticipation of Jordan's last season, Nike launched Brand Jordan, a lower division designed in Jordan's image. This brand expanded beyond signature sneakers to include sponsored schools, team shoes, and apparel, with an initial projection of $300 million in its first year. With Brand Jordan in place, and the success of MJ's final season with the Bulls, the brand remained strong throughout 1998. But sales declined after his retirement in 1999, and without MJ playing in the Air Jordan 15, the typical guaranteed success in selling his next signature shoe was disrupted. After all, the Jordan 15 was designed by Tinker Hatfield, like many of the other best-selling Jordans, but it seemed without the on-court connection, the shoes wouldn't be received the same way they had been in the past by the public. During this period, competitors like Adidas and Reebok capitalized on the opportunity. Adidas signed Tracy McGrady to a multi-million-dollar extension in 2001, boosting their basketball sales by 40%. Reebok made Allen Iverson a lifetime partner as he became a cultural phenomenon. Nike, traditionally a trendsetter, found itself chasing trends without the Jordan impact. And One was gaining popularity through the mixtape tour, and streetball was on the rise. Both with the And One #1 team and with the popularity of Allen Iverson and Reebok. Before Jordan took that front office job with Washington in January of 2000, reports indicated a 42% drop in Air Jordan sales the previous fall, marking the brand's weakest performance ever. Meanwhile, the competition continued to thrive. But of course, Jordan Brand's namesake star player was poised for a comeback.
You know, when the shoes were at its peak, I played at a high level, and the consumers saw that, and it basically authenticated everything about that shoe.
By returning to the basketball court in the fall of 2001, just before the holiday season, Jordan Brand saw an opportunity to regain its prominence. With only a few months to prepare the new game shoe for release, Michael Jordan played preseason games in the Ginger Air Jordan 16, a basketball shoe with lifestyle influences featuring mustard suede reminiscent of Timberlands, which of course were trending at the time. As fans adjusted to seeing Jordan in a Wizards uniform, Washington, D.C. residents quickly embraced the new Air Jordans, and the excitement soon spread to other major markets. For the 2001-2002 NBA season opener in New York City, Jordan debuted the Air Jordan 17 on national television. Released in February 2002 to coincide with All-Star Weekend, the shoes retailed for an unprecedented $200, and they came packaged in a silver suitcase, marking them as the most expensive Air Jordan to date. This new game shoe, endorsed by the greatest of all time, made the high price tag seem justified. Now, upon leaving DC for his third retirement from the NBA, Michael Jordan passed a $40 million legacy baton primarily to Carmelo Anthony. Melo was tasked with leading Jordan Brand's performance line in his absence. But the early 2000s set the stage for a new strategy. See, Michael Jordan's return with the Wizards not only gave the Jordan Brand a second chance to rework a strategy for the retirement of their star athlete, but it seemed to propel the brand to another level entirely. A large part of that strategy, along with adding new athletes like Carmelo Anthony, Roy Jones Jr., Derek Jeter, and more, was to push the retro or re-release side of Jordans, the shoes that continue to sell to this day. Michael Jordan released 17 signature models before his third retirement in 2003, and those remained popular during his career. From that time to today, the original models that were released at the heights of his playing career have grown in popularity and have been reworked with new colorways and collaborations. The Jordan Brand's retro business soared, resulting in $800 million in sales by 2007, more than 2.5 times the projected earnings when the brand was launched back in 1997. Today, Jordan Brand generates over $6 billion annually. As of 2024, nearly 25 years after its sales decline at MJ's second retirement, Jordan Brand is outfitting top college football teams and generating $1 billion from retro products alone. The Jumpman logo is worn by top basketball players in the US and abroad, and can be seen on NASCAR vehicles and Parisian soccer powerhouses. Michael Jordan's return with the Wizards was a catalyst in launching the brand to its current level. Now, following his third retirement, there were some bumps in the road regarding the front office route. Michael Jordan expected to return to his previous role as director of basketball operations with the Washington Wizards. Although his earlier tenure had mixed results, Wizards owner Abe Pollan dismissed Jordan from that position. MJ later expressed feelings of betrayal, explaining that if he had known he would be fired upon his retiring, he would never have returned to play for the Wizards. In the years that followed, Jordan participated in celebrity charity golf tournaments and spent time with his family in Chicago. He also prioritized promoting Jordan Brand clothing line and explored other business ventures. Then on June 15, 2006, Michael Jordan purchased a minority stake in the Charlotte Bobcats, who would later be renamed as the Hornets, becoming the team's second largest shareholder after majority owner Robert L. Johnson. As part of the agreement, Jordan gained full control over basketball decisions with the title of managing member of basketball operations. A decade earlier, MJ had attempted to become a part owner of Charlotte's original NBA team, the Hornets. But back then, negotiations failed when owner George Shinn refused to grant him complete control over basketball operations. In February 2010, reports surfaced that Jordan was pursuing majority ownership of the Bobcats, and on February 27th, the Bobcats announced that Johnson had agreed to sell the team to Jordan's group pending NBA approval, and on March 17th, the NBA Board of Governors unanimously approved the purchase, making Michael Jordan the first former player to become the majority owner of an NBA team, and the league's only African-American majority owner. Michael Jordan's tenure running the Bobcat Hornet franchise fell short of the success he envisioned. During his majority ownership, the team accumulated 600 losses and had an overall record of 567 and 784 during his connection with the franchise. This was the 5th worst record in the league, and the team made the playoffs only 3 times in 17 seasons, winning just 3 playoff games. The question arises, how did the greatest competitor as a player end up struggling so much as an executive? Well, looking back at his days with the Washington Wizards gives some clues. While his stint with the Wizards as a player might be considered underrated, his time in Washington as an executive was more questionable. As part owner and president of basketball operations, Jordan overseeing the selection of Kwame Brown,
Who cares?
will always be considered a major mistake if one also considers Jordan's influence on the 2002 draft. Despite him actively playing at the time, the collective picks fell short of their expected career value by 116.7 win shares, with none of the players achieving the potential their draft position suggested. Additionally, Jordan approved of the trade of 24-year-old future All-Star Rip Hamilton for a 28-year-old former All-Star Jerry Stackhouse. But despite those marks on his record, Jordan was still able to acquire the position he desired with Charlotte. He inherited a recent expansion team that ranked last in payroll and had a 44-120 record in its first 2 seasons. However, the team had some promising young players, including Gerald Wallace, Emeka Okafor, and Raymond Felton, and the number 3 pick in the 2006 draft. Unfortunately, the team used that pick on Gonzaga's Adam Morrison, who, like Kwame Brown, would go down as one of the NBA's all-time draft busts, setting the tone early for Jordan's regime. Despite those setbacks, there were moments of hope. The Bobcats, built around Wallace, Felton, Boris Diaw, and Steven Jackson, went 44-38 under coach Larry Brown during the 2009-10 season, earning Jordan his first playoff appearance as an executive. Although Charlotte was swept in the first round, Jordan had been stacking positive off-seasons up to that point, leading some observers to believe that the team might build on that success. However, disaster soon followed. The 2010-11 Bobcats regressed. Larry Brown left the team, and the players who had powered the previous year's playoff run began to decline. Jordan's personnel decisions were inconsistent, setting the stage for the 2011-12 season, one of the most dismal and embarrassing in the history of team sports. After recording the worst winning percentage by any NBA team ever, Charlotte didn't even secure the number 1 overall pick in the following draft. Instead, the first pick went to the New Orleans Hornets, now known as the Pelicans, with the Hornets name returning to Charlotte eventually. New Orleans selected franchise-altering big man Anthony Davis, while Charlotte was left with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, who has significantly fewer career wins above replacement than Davis, and less than other top picks from that draft, including Bradley Beal and Damian Lillard, who have far outperformed Kidd-Gilchrist. This mix of bad luck and poor decision-making was a recurring theme during Jordan's time in Charlotte. In 4 different drafts, Charlotte missed out on a player in the lottery who went on to produce at least a 25 career WAR, instead selecting a player who generated much less. Also, in 9 out of the 15 lottery picks, the player taken immediately after Charlotte's selection turned out to be more valuable than the player Charlotte chose, a scenario that ideally won't be repeated by a front office. But while the success eluded him as an owner in terms of winning, MJ did capture victories in other ways. Jordan benefited from the rapid appreciation of sports franchises. In 2019, he sold 20% of the team at a $1.5 billion valuation. In 2019, he sold 20% of the team at a $1.5 billion valuation. The team was later sold for double that amount when Jordan ceded majority control in 2023. 2023. In the NBA, only the Phoenix Suns have sold for more, when they sold for over $4 billion in 2022. Those sales had a ripple effect, with other team owners now reassessing their franchise values based on the Charlotte sale. Jordan retained a small stake in the Hornets, maintaining his connection to basketball while exploring new business ventures. Over the years, he's explored various businesses, including car dealerships, restaurants, and more recently, equity investments, investing in companies like Clear, Mythical Games, and DraftKings. Looking ahead, NASCAR is expected to play a more significant role in Jordan's business endeavors. The idea of a professional athlete becoming a billionaire remains exceptionally rare, with only 3 individuals ever achieving it. Michael Jordan was the first to reach this milestone in 2014, followed by LeBron James and Tiger Woods, who both accomplished it while still active in their careers. As sports salaries continue to rise and off-field opportunities expand, more athletes are likely to join their ranks. According to Forbes, 7 athletes have already earned $1 billion in career earnings before taxes, spending, and agent fees. When the first Air Jordan sneaker was released near the end of his rookie season in 1985, Nike had initially expected to sell $3 million worth of merchandise. Just 2 months later, the brand had generated $70 million in sales, and by the year's end, sales had reached $100 million. MJ had initially signed a 5-year deal, earning $500,000 annually plus royalties. In its latest annual report, Nike disclosed that Jordan brand generated $6.6 billion in annual wholesale revenue, reflecting a 28.6% increase from the previous year. Michael Jordan became a brand unto himself before the concept of athletes as brands was widely recognized. Companies like Gatorade aimed to associate their products with Jordan's success, hoping consumers would want to emulate him. Since Michael Jordan first stepped onto an NBA court in 1984, securing substantial earnings has been a straightforward task. Throughout his 15-season NBA career, he earned $94 million in salary and signing bonuses, and was the league's highest-paid player in 1997 and 1998. However, it was off the court that Jordan truly distanced himself from every other athlete, amassing an estimated $2.4 billion over his career through endorsements with brands like McDonald's, Gatorade, Hanes, and most notably, Nike, where his most recent annual royalty check was around $260 million. Jordan's biggest financial move was when he sold his majority stake with the Charlotte Hornets at a staggering $3 billion valuation. That achievement places Jordan in an elite category. With an estimated net worth of $3 billion, he has secured a spot on the Forbes 400, marking the first time a professional athlete has ranked among America's wealthiest individuals. Michael Jordan's 2-season return to the court with the Wizards seemed curious at the time, but when he retired for the 3rd and final time in 2003, MJ's billionaire status was inevitable. Thanks for watching Sports Pantheon.
Stop it.